Speed on Game Day back again for another week. You got Brent, you got Joshy, round 20 review. King, how are you, bud?
Hey, boys and girls. Hey, buddy. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Looking forward to the end of the season, buddy. It's getting tough, and I am officially out of trades. I have 0 trades remaining. So it's going to be a long 4 weeks. But in saying that, I don't have to worry about who I'm going to bring in now because I'm done. So
that's it. All the fun stuff starts next week, mate, with all the finals matchups in the head-to-heads as well. But
yeah, definitely. Head-to-heads last week, this week. So mathematically, mate, we're both still a chance to make the top 8 in the BJ League, albeit an outside chance. Unfortunately, I lost it. Did you win last week?
Yeah, I think I played the threat, was it? I think he scored about 1,000, but yeah, I got the job done.
I don't think you played the threat. No, because he beat Big Ted.
Oh, sorry.
Big
Who's
Ted
the on the Bashes?
Oh, you played the Bashes. Brendan's Bashes. Yeah, nice little points booster there.
The threat's knocked off the Ted, huh?
Big Ted got done.
Oh, no.
We better get that in the start of the video. Big Ted went down to the threat. Fucking useless.
Hate to be his dog.
But, mate, last week was pretty tough. I scored 1375 and I went backwards. So, just one of those weeks where you either Captain Teddy or you didn't, you know. So, I think I probably sacrificed about 110, 120 points there by missing out Teddy on the captain instead of going. I went turbo. So, mate, yourself, you had an all right week, buddy?
Yeah, no, I think another crazy week. I think top score was it 1,600 and something for the round. I think I moved 1,300 spots, which I thought, maybe I could jump a couple thousand and pull myself inside the top 5K, but I'm nowhere even near of that. So I think obviously solid as across the board, 1,400, probably par, 1,350, 1,400. I still saw a lot of people lose their head-to-head scoring, high 1,300s, low 1,400s. So it was a crazy week.
Yeah. Mate, there was plenty of blokes who put up on social media scoring sort of 1480s, 1490s and losing. So, just wow. So, very, very big scoring week. It really didn't look like it was going to be that massive until that Roosters game on the Sunday. I think nothing was really out of the ordinary. You had Cam Smith and the Melbourne Storm sort of play all right and score well for Supercoaches, but yeah, until that Roosters game came around, it wasn't much to crow about. But, mate, finally the plan came together for you, that left-hand side of the Roosters.
Yeah, well, I stacked it. I brought in Cordner last week, so that didn't work out too well, and I thought they would have put a few more points on the Dogs, but...
we didn't have you last week. I was going to question you about how do you bring in Cordner? I know you wanted to have that left side, but really? Cordner?
Oh, look, it was
solid, but he's never been much pod.
He was a massive pod. He had some, 80-minute back rower down that left edge. He's good for a try. It was just, given where I was in the season, it was a bit of a, a punt just to try and go someone that no one else would have. The thought process was, they'll put 40 on the Dogs, they'll put 40 on the Titans, and he might bag 1 or 2. As it turns out, he got about 35 points against the Dogs and then didn't play against the Titans. But anyway, what do you do?
Yep. How many trades you got left?
Sitting on 3. So
that's all right. That's
3, just under 100k in the bank. So I think, given I'm out of it with overall, I'll hold these bad boys until final head-to-heads, and maybe I might need to mitigate something to get through to a cash comp, semi or whatever it is, and maybe that's just the way I'll use them to finish it off, because I'll be lucky to finish top 5,000 overall the way things are going.
I went in a couple of weeks ago and I used one of my trades and I brought in, I can't even remember what I brought in. I think I nuffed. Yeah, I did actually. I nuffed because that's the whole point of this little story. I brought in a bloke from Penrith. He was last in the front row position. His name's fucking Spencer Lemieux or something. And turns out the bloke's actually playing this week and he's going to be an absolute AE nightmare for me. So, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be looping any time in the next few weeks.
Well, I nuffed a couple of weeks ago. I brought in that Caleb Milne from Melbourne. So it was a dual front rower, second rower. And I brought him in because Melbourne generally seem to play at the back end of the round. I think I had a quick look.
Yeah.
I look, Melbourne more often than not will play the back end, so I have to move someone around. I'll be able to move him. He fucking got transferred to Cronulla.
He plays for Cronulla.
And now it's thrown that. I don't know what the go is now with Cronulla's games. That just blew me theory out the window. So I thought, standard.
Yeah.
Hashtag 2019.
Look, I don't know why he signed with Cronulla. We've got that many sort of forwards there, and you got like your young Jack Williams and Billy Magoulis and that, and so I'm not too sure whether he's even close to getting a spot at Cronulla, but we'll wait and see, I guess. But sort of both our plans come a bit astray there.
Yeah, sums it up really, doesn't it, mate?
Mate, games from last week. What did we start with? What was the Thursday night game? Oh, this was just a shit game to watch. Obviously, West Tigers had a good game here. A little bit dirty, actually. This probably started the week off bad. Esan Masters, I never traded him out. I kept him, but I put him on the bench. So he scored a double, bagged 76 points. Tamalolo was solid enough with 65, but not really too much in effective for Supercoaches, mate.
Mate, to be fair, Tigers probably got the best run home of any club, and I reckon they're a bit of a smoky to find that one of those last spots in the 8. I will say I'm a bit surprised given you've brought in Nofo because you got the Masters Nofo combo, right? If you played Nofo, you'd probably play Masters. But to be fair, 76 with the double isn't awesome. I know one of the tries was off a kick, but it could have been worse. I've seen, some players. Latrell Mitchell gets a double, he pretty much tons up, right? Because he kicks a few goals and all that sort of thing. And obviously,
he's obviously lost
kicking.
the kicking, Masters. And I think Momorowski had a couple of kicks. So Moses Mbai was kicking, and then I think Momorowski kicked the last 2 goals or might have taken the last 2 attempts. But, mate, the reasoning behind not playing Masters and playing Nofaluma, and Nofaluma hasn't really turned out to be the pod I'd hoped he would, but they seem to go to Masters side, and Masters runs a lot of decoys. So I was just thinking that with Madison gone back to the centre, he wouldn't hold the ball, and I thought it might actually get all the way out to Nofaluma, but that hasn't turned to fruition the way I thought it would.
Well, and his second try was a bit of that decoy line where Marshall went short to him and he, barged over. I think it was Clifford. But, anyway, I still think there'll be some points in that Tigers team, and I think your Nofo will pay off eventually. It just might level out to be like a 50 or 60 average, because he only scored 30 or 40 in these sort of weeks, but a bit stiff. But,
you say, their run home's pretty good. So I reckon in the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks he's got a few, 80 or 90 point games in him. Second game of the week, first game on the Friday night. And this was an absolute domination from the Green Machine. Wow. I don't know what was better, how good the Raiders were or how absolutely terrible the Warriors were. Jazz Tavanga continues to be a shining light for the Warriors, for anyone who's got him. Just an absolute workhorse. And for the Raiders, look, Joshy Papali had another cracking game. Who does that say up the top there? I can't even read it. It's behind our Hodge. Did Hodgson score a ton?
Yeah, he's back, mate. He's back in a big way.
You reckon he's back?
We mentioned him a couple of weeks, and this is looking like the Canberra side from a couple of years ago with a little bit more, with Bateman there now and a bit more experience in them. They're looking real good, but they've got a big month coming up. I think they play the Roosters this weekend. They play Melbourne, Manly and Cronulla. So, in theory, they could potentially lock down a top 2 spot in the next 4 weeks, but we'll find out a lot about them.
How good
but
is
they're looking
Bateman's
really good
kicking game?
He doesn't look like anything special, but he's just the complete package when he actually, he produces the goods.
Mate, he just gets the job done,
doesn't he?
Like you say, he doesn't actually look. You look at his whole technique, right? As a footballer, his tackling is pretty good. His running, he's got this jittery little step.
Diminutive sort of character.
I say how good his short kicking game. It looks fucking terrible. It looks bad. But his timing, I think that's the thing. His timing with every play that he makes is just phenomenal. So,
his effort,
definitely become a quick favourite in Canberra.
I think he puts in 110% in everything he does. Also, mate,
I do
interesting
want
one.
to see him. I want to see him belt some cunt before the end of the season because I reckon he would just absolutely drop any fucker.
You go. We'll see what happens if the Raiders lose in a finals game or something, or they're out of it in the last sort of 5 to 10. I reckon he'll have a bit of that mongrel in him. Bailey Simonson, mate. Sounds like they Lelua's back this week.
Yep.
And
Old Phil's out.
Kotrick, I think, is back as well. Simonson, I think, has been, unreal out there. But, what is he? I don't really think he has a right to take a spot off Croker, Leilua, Rapana or Kotrick. Obviously, they've got Clocks out at the back. Does he get picked up by another club? I think he's been unreal for him.
Oh, mate, I think Simonson, if he was smart enough, I think he'd stay at the Raiders. I think he's still learning that rugby league game after coming across from Sevens. I think Rapana and Joey Leilua have shown that they're injury prone these last couple of seasons since that big Leipana breakout. So if he's clever, I think he'll stay there. I don't think Oldfield has always been solid in attack, but he's a little bit of a liability in defence. We've talked about Simonson a couple of times. I absolutely rate him. I think he's going to be one of the next big things, and it's a little bit hard to say in that back line because it is stacked. But he could possibly get a contract offer from somewhere else to take over completely and get a starting spot permanently somewhere else.
See what happens. As you said, big future for him.
Definitely. Second game on the Friday night, and these were two back-to-back, just absolute dominations. The Broncos, this was probably more a case of how good Melbourne were. Melbourne, after losing to Manly the week before in Golden Point 11-10, just dead set did what Bellamy teams you've come to expect from him. They were brilliant. Kenny Bromwich was awesome. Cameron Smith was awesome. Pappenhausen was good. He was everywhere. Munster and Adokar were solid. Some huge scores there. And, just a really good football team, mate. And for the Broncos, Payne Haas continued his good form. Matty Lodge, I've had him probably the last 4 or 5 weeks now. He scored a 90, 72 again. He's been playing really, really well. So probably a reason last week why I still scored good even with a bad captain.
Yeah, I think they've been the shining lights and they're generally appearing at the top of that list or in the top 3 or 4 for Brisbane, Lodge and Haas. Apart from that, I know Brisbane have won a few, but they got a towel up, didn't they? And that Melbourne side, I can't get over how good this Pappenhausen is. If they've got Munster and Pappenhausen and Croft out there, I know Smith would be a big loss, but they got, Smith Jr. in there. They're going to be a successful football club for a while yet. But that Pappenhausen is something else. He reminds me, I guess, a bit of a Slater and Munster type character. He's hard to tackle. He's quick. He's everywhere. So, it'd be really interesting to see that side in a couple of years' time.
The Melbourne
as well.
team, they're so structured in attack and defence. Like they've got their structures absolutely perfect. But then you bring out a bloke like Pappenhausen, who's completely X factor. He forms straight into the structure, but he brings in the X factor as well. Like it's an absolutely luxury to have. So, while they've continued to produce talent like that, they're just going to keep vying for premiership. So, should be good. Mate, the first game on the Saturday, unfortunately, your boys got an absolute toweling, mate. It was close at half-time, only 8-6 down, but Manly ran away with it in the end.
Yeah, I think you summed it up, mate. I think we're playing good for about 30 or 40, but they're forgetting there's another half still to play. Same thing happened against the Roosters, a few weeks ago. I think the same thing's happening against a couple of sides in the last month, and it's just effort sort of stuff. But, taking nothing away from Manly, Cherry Evans has been massive for them. That front row into Powell and Fennell Blake is just massive when they're on there. Garrick's been massive. Sirenen's been, awesome in the last month as well. But, pretty disappointing from my blokes. I don't really know what to say.
Talk to me about Mitchell Pearce.
Yeah, look, like I said, I really don't know. I think it's funny, I liken this to the start of the season where we had all this expectation and we lost our first 5 and then we managed to win 7 in a row. We're sort of there again. I did expect them to get up for this one. I thought it was still a winnable game, but it was an effort thing, and I don't know really how you read into that. I think they had their defence sorted. As I said, sort of, in that 7 or 6 in a row that we won, the defence was down pat. Now all of a sudden it's, almost non-existent. So I don't know how you read into that. Is it has Brown lost the sheds? It's an effort thing. It's not, I don't know what else it is. They're not showing up the way they were over a couple of months ago. And obviously Ramian's been given the can, which I think is an absolute massive mistake. I think that could have been a decision a bit more in the moment that should have been slept on a little bit more. And they're under pressure now. I think if last week wasn't a must-win, definitely now, because another loss, you fall out of it and it gets a bit tough. So Cronulla is starting to hit a bit of form obviously now, and I'm not sure what's going on. Pearce basically did nothing.
Well, that was going to be my point, mate. Like you said, you've won those 7 in a row, and it's not too often that you see Supercoach really reflect actual NRL games. So, I mean, you get good scores on both, but they're defensive, it's attacking, tackle busts. You're going to have 20 tackle busts in a game and not actually do much, like the way Teddy jumps around sometimes. He has 8 tackle busts in one play, but it doesn't really do much. Mitchell Pearce, it seems his Supercoach scores have actually reflected Newcastle's form. He went through that sort of 7-game period and scored 80s and 90s and 100s, and dead set was a world beater. There was talk about Origin and that. The last sort of 4 or 5 weeks as years have lost, mate, he's scoring 8 points, 10 points, and I'm just not too sure whether you talk about defensive attitude, whether it's the attacking attitude. I know Kalen Ponga, and a lot of talks there about him being that X factor and that shining light, but I think it all sort of starts with Mitchell Pearce.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for Ponga because, you see that try he scored on the weekend and it was just from nothing, it was all effort, and he sort of epitomises the effort they should be putting in. But Pearce, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. Obviously, I would have thought after getting that Origin win and they were in a bit of a run that he would have been fine. But, yeah, I agree. He's pretty much going to be the difference. There's talk of Ponga getting contract upgrades, but you could argue, he hasn't, might be a bit harsh, but what has he done for us? We still haven't, done anything. We're not up there yet, but it's definitely not a one-man club at the moment in Ponga.
Considering Clemmer's form, considering Safidi's a New South Wales forward, you've got Mitchell Pearce, you've got Kalen Ponga at the back. You've sort of got a solid team across the park. If you don't make the top 8, you've got to consider this season a massive failure. And how can you be someone like Kalen Ponga and expect a contract boost?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the worst run home. We've played the Tigers again. We'll play the Titans. So I still have a fair bit of hope there, but they just need to get the monkey off the back. They just can't get that, break that duck of losses. And, they need it this week against Para, so we'll see what happens. But, I've got nothing.
Yeah. Second game on the Saturday night, and we saw, a bit of a dour affair. The Doggies got up over Penrith. Jack Cogger was awesome. Really, really good footballer. I'm loving what I'm seeing from this bloke. And I've actually watched him a couple of times this season. So, interesting one there. Obviously, they're nice to let him go after last season, but yeah, he's quite a good young player. Will Hopewadi continues to perform well. We've spoken about him in the past few weeks as a potential pod. And for the Penrith Panthers, James Fisher-Harris, solid as usual. And a couple of back rowers there, and Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo playing well as well. But, mate, pretty average game to watch this one.
Yeah, Doggies are raining on a few parades as well. They're just, getting up against sides. They're playing some good footy. Dean Pay's probably, rejoicing a bit. But I think another one on that Panthers side that's been a real shining light has been that Naden. I actually heard during the week he was a Newcastle let him go as well, and then I think whether he went to Canberra or not, I think we talked about as well. But he looks really good. But yeah, the Dogs are here to spoil a few parties for sure. But I was expecting a bit more out of that one from Penrith. I don't think They're the real deal this year. Cleary was obviously really disappointing in that one as well for a side that, should be up there, and those games they really should be winning. That was an absolute stinker for any Penrith fans. So
probably a bit of a boost for Cleary owners, anyone who does still have him. Obviously, the latest from the judiciary tonight, that James Maloney failed his charge, or he's contesting the charge, and he failed that. So he'll be out for, I think, a couple of weeks now, Jimmy Maloney. So Nathan Cleary will have the reins. No doubt Jerome Luai will come into the sixth spot. But, might mean a few more points for Nathan Cleary this week. And the third game on the Saturday, oh, look at this. Absolutely, we're back. We're back. My boys are back. Absolutely towed up the Bunnies. Well, towed up, I mean. We won by 15, but, very good signs from the Sharkies. Bronson Xerri had a huge game. Wade Graham was absolutely fucking enormous. For a second row, his vision, his finesse is absolutely awesome. SJ had a solid game. For the Bunnies, Cameron Murray, he is just a beast. He is an absolute monster for a little bloke. So impressed by him. Got across for a meat pie, which helped the score, but, really plays well. And Damien Cook, a solid 91, mate.
Yeah, I think Supercoach-wise, it was a cracker. Obviously, you can see there a lot of popular players did pretty well. I think Graham's that linchpin on that left edge. On the right there, you got Johnson, Nakora. I think you got Dugan out there now that Moylan's back. But Wade Graham was pivotal out there on that left edge. He set up 3 maybe. That short passing game of his. He's a really good link with Xerri there. But, your blokes, that they've just shown that that's why they can't be underestimated. And this is the side we were pretty much rating as, gone on under a little bit under the radar maybe 6 weeks ago, but they had a bit of a bad run. But that's the side that we know they can be, and when they play like that, they can beat anyone. So I've had a few forwards you got coming through. Hamlin Ualey looks like he'll be an absolute superstar of the future. Jack Williams is an absolute beast. I think there was another young bloke you said out there as well, but really good signs for you. And it's only about the right time of the year, and this is probably the right time to start a run as well.
Mate, I've already got a couple of sneaky pineapples. We're still $21 for the Premiership. I think I might go have a couple more on and see if I can clean up come grand final day.
Yeah, a few of those boys get a bit of confidence. Can I just say, though, like Sam Burgess dead set, I think it would have been within his first half a dozen tackles back, he's put an absolute blinder on Moylan. He has got off, so he'll be free to play next week.
Bullshit, did he?
Yeah, he got off.
Are you shit? I didn't hear that yet. I was just going to ask.
Put the early guilty plea or whatever it was, but he'll be free to play next week.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. That'll do, mate. That'll do, mate.
Have a look at some of the other ones where they've been players and stuff, which I don't like to harp on about the poorness of the...
I spoke about it at the time. I couldn't believe Moylan didn't go off for a HIA straight away. Like, you could see the reaction from the tackle. The motherfucker was knocked out. He was out cold. And he ended up passing his HIA and coming back on. But since then, he's actually failed HIA protocol after the match. And Moylan's actually out this week. So,
Is he?
But, I mean, dead set. It was the upper arm flush on the chin, swinging arm. Mate, if that doesn't get a week or two for Semi Burgess, they should just throw the judiciary away altogether.
Especially with his history, like he's just an absolute serial, repeat offender. And Moylan almost let it, as it turned out, he was a genius, but he nearly let a try in, let that kick roll a little bit longer than it needed to.
That was heart palpitations, that one.
But anyway, it was good to see that Cronulla team chime finally. Obviously, I didn't play Xerri, which hurt a little bit. He's an absolute superstar. But here they come. I still say 24 points. Defence can be worked on, but scoring 39 against the Bunnies is no mean feat.
Mate, I go back to, I think it was about 2011 or 12 when the Bunnies won the comp, and it didn't matter who they played; they just scored more points than them. Their defence that year was very average, but they could score from anywhere on the park, and that's what I'm actually loving with Wade Graham back. I think Cronulla can do the same. So we'll wait and see. First game on the Sunday, and this was the big one. This was what got everyone absolutely out of their seats for Supercoaches. James Tedesco there, 155 points. Absolutely huge. Latrell, I was a little bit worried actually for a while there. Latrell looked like he was only going to score moderately, but he got a couple of meat pies in the second half. Luke Keary, Brett Morris, huge, and Victor Radley chimed in there as well. Mate, the left-hand side got it done for you, buddy.
Yeah, it was good. I think the Dogs, I was feeling a bit let down. Keary had 26 last week. And anyway, it paid off this week. They're not going to play the Titans every week. We're pretty happy with that. Big questions this week. Yeah, I did captain Teddy. So even with that, it wasn't awesome. Big questions this week. Do you play guys like Keary against the Raiders and stuff like that? Some interesting calls this week. But what's going on with the Titans? Why are they still in the comp? Seriously,
mate, bring back the North Sydney Bears. Give a shout out to Bogan. Mate, they are terrible. Yeah. Look, I don't know what to make of it. Obviously, Ash Taylor's had his problems. Nathan Peets 2 seasons ago, he was the New South Wales hooker. And until Damien Cook came along, he looked like he was going to dominate that position for, the foreseeable future. He's had his injury problems, but he's been average. The forwards they've recruited have been terrible. But, look, they've got a few guys out injured. But, you want to be anyone other than a Titans fan at the moment.
Yeah, in years gone by, they've had those old heads like they had, Luke Bailey, guys like the Frankie and Minichello and even Scotty Prince. They don't really have any of those old heads there now at the moment. So, who's the leaders? Guys like Arrow, guys like Ryan James, as you said, who are injured. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Michael Gordon, obviously, he's been there, but he's probably not much of a spokesperson or a leader of a team. He always leads by example, but that's about it.
In the forward pack, I know you got Proctor there, but you need a couple of old heads in there to, someone like Matt Scott. If he had a few more years in him, he'd be ideal somewhere there. But not sure where to for the Titans. I think the coach that sort of inherited it has done himself a disservice. But we'll see what happens. It'll be good to see if he can turn it around, but I doubt it.
Yeah. And final game on the Sunday for the week, Parramatta taking on the Dragons. A low-scoring one, surprisingly. I actually thought this might be one of the highest-scoring games of the weekend, but neither team could really get too much of a flow in an attack. And as you can see there, top score for both teams was 71 points only. Dylan Brown for the Eels and Cam McInnes for the Dragons. Not too much of a surprise there with McInnes. But Maker Sivo, he sort of keeps he's continued his form pretty much.
Yeah, him and tell me if his cousin isn't Ravalawa, I'm not here. They're dead set identical. One's just a little bit taller. No, you look.
Mate, all Asians look alike.
Well, there's talk of Sammy coming back. Imagine you got Sivo on one wing, and what do you do with Fergo? Where does he go? Does he go? They got Gutho at full back there. It's a good problem to have. But
Fergo can go play for Wentworthville. Fuck, I want to see Sivo and Semi Radradra on a wing each.
You chuck Semi in the centres. Could you do it? I don't think you could. But
can we bring back Jared Hayne as well? Get rid of King Gutho.
They've signed Wanga Blake, so there's some potency in that back line. But pretty of a stinker. It was only 2 points scored in the second half. It was a penalty goal. I was actually watching this one at the club, so it was quite boring. But Laffey looked like he had tried to get a bit more involved, which is good for him. I think he's scored 48 points without doing, obviously too much. Dragons didn't score much, but a bit of a stinker. I played Gutho, so I wasn't happy about that. But what do you do, eh?
Yeah. Games this week. Moving on, and some tight games this week. A lot of sort of even matchups. So it'll be interesting to see. Captain choices will be a little bit hard. Obviously, you can see there the Bunnies and the Storms have finished the round. Massive Sunday games of footy with the top 4 teams playing each other. So You get through the sort of average teams earlier in the week, and mate, this could be a huge week for super coaches if you pick the right captain. You look at the example last week with Teddy v Turbo. Most people had both those blokes as captain, and it was a huge turnaround. This could be the same this week. Where do you get the right captain from?
Yeah, I have had a good look, and it could also be pretty big in terms of, it's the last round before finals. If you need a win, those matchups, Canberra Roosters, as I said, do you play myself, someone having Kiri? If you have guys like Croker for South, if you've got, some of those guys you're unsure of, even, guys like Munster against South. I guess you have to play them, but they're really tough matchups Supercoach-wise. So I think, like you said, your points are probably going to come, more than likely come from those first 6 games somewhere in there. You got Ponga against Para. I don't think anyone will pretty much have anyone from St. George worth captaining, but maybe you're looking at some of the Cronulla boys. Me personally, I think I'm going maybe VC Lolo, and you'd have to throw the C on Turbo against New Zealand, wouldn't you, after he scored 154 the last time they played. And I'm just going to stay away from those Sunday games, I guess, as much as I can from a Supercoach perspective, because they could be really tight defensively ones, or it's just going to be real hard to pick.
Yeah, definitely. On a trade for this week, mate?
No trades.
Change places! Change places!
You got any trades this week, mate?
No trades.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, so just go on,
How can you make Curtis Serrano PowerPoint? Mate, this guy scored 100 twice, like, in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, let me speak, mate. Fucking hell.
Oh, okay.
A bit late to the party, but yeah, obviously, if you're looking for something different, I'm not entirely sure what his ownership is. I'd imagine it isn't massive, and he would be probably inflated, as you impatiently mentioned. He has produced the goods, but if you're looking for something a little bit different to finish off the season, this could be one of those blokes. His base generally isn't massive. You are relying on some attacking stats, but that combination he has with Cherry is really good. He seems to be able to isolate opposition halves really well. He made Pearce look pretty silly on the weekend as well. Anyway, fuck yeah. I know he's in form, so it's easy to say.
Fair
what
enough.
Do you got?
Fair enough. Mate, I went
Obviously,
Victor Radley.
No trades, I guess.
Yeah, no trades. Zero trades. Speaking of that, if we recap the trades from last week, I did put up that I was going to go Fergo to Bateman and Katoni Staggs to Gerbo. I did go to Katoni Staggs to Gerbo, but I didn't go Bateman. I left him out. I did go Turbo. I switched. Obviously, I talked about captaining Turbo. I went RTS to Turbo. I just looked at RTS's run home. Thought he'd been in good form, but thought he might have a little bit of a lull, and couldn't really risk 60% of other people having Turbo and me not. So I went with Turbo. But my power pod mate, Victor Rat, I just love this bloke. It's like Brendan Smith, except Victor Radley gets 70 or 80 minutes, whereas Brendan Smith only gets sort of 40 or 50. So the way he supported last week, look, obviously they're not going to play the Titans every week. They play the Raiders this week, but you get someone who gives 100% out of blokes like Victor Radley and blokes like Brendan Smith, and I think that's something that I love in Supercoach. I hate to see those blokes who just sort of 100% one week and then 40% the next. So if anyone's looking for a pod, look, price wise, I think he's about 520k. Most people at this time of the season, trades are a bit of a premium, so they might find it tough to get him in. But he scored 92 on the weekend. There's no reason why he can't find a sneaky pod here or there. Sneaky pie here or there as well. So maybe one to look out for.
No, and I like him. I think in a few years' time, guys like him and Cam Murray are the future of the Blues, and they, like I said, they could be a bit of the Blues brothers, I reckon, in the future, because they just hit hard and put in 110%, as you said.
Social media pages, Twitter at BJ and GameDay, Facebook, BJ and Game Day, and the Supercoach group code. You can still join in. A few weeks to go. Anyone who wants to jump on board, 701371. Mate, over to the BJ League. And what do we got? Wayno, Hell's Grannies, top scorer last week, 1476. Gangsters Gargas, 1475. And the Bunning Snags, he pulled the right rein. He picked the right captain, Charlie White. He is up to 46th overall. So come on, the Snags. Keep going, mate. Try and crack that top 10.
How good is he going? Is he any danger of taking this thing out or what?
Nah,
how far off first?
Mate, I was saying to Bogan a little bit earlier. Look, as you can see there, the scores. He's about 600 points ahead of me. I didn't think it was that much. Wow, it's that much now. I think I'm closer than I'm ranked about 1700th. He's about 46th. It's probably actually now that I see it's 600 different. It's probably about the same between me and him as it is between him and first. So,
really?
The bloke who's first overall, I think Turbo Desi's team name is.
Yeah.
He only scored 1,320 on the weekend. He captained Turbo. So, unfortunately, a misstep there from him. And, mate, he's led the comp for about the last 10 weeks now. I think he's only about 40 points in front of second. He was up to about 300 ahead. And, they're coming from everywhere to beat this guy. So he'll be absolutely dirty with this many weeks left if he goes down. But, mate, he's an outside chance, Charlie. It's just really hard because, I mean, as most people are saying, the teams are so similar. I mean, you've always got 2 or 3 pods, but it seems like when you do have those pods, they're scoring the same as each other each week. So it really does come down to finding those unique captains. And obviously, like we saw last week with Teddy v Turbo. So Rangers de Janeiro, he just below me, 1368. So we're sort of tussling it out for second spot there. Head-to-head for last week. What do we got? Gangsters Gargars gave the Tunnel Snakes a bit of a hiding. Trent with What's a Pod continues to shine. He's in 5th, beat fucking Cowboys. Mana was checkmate. So Mana's 9th, Leanne's 8th. So they're both 10 and 8. Ping Ponga, you're 9 and 9. So you can theoretically still make it. Who's 7th? Stevie Woods is 7th with 10 and 8. He beat the Ginger. So roll the page. Brendo got beat by Hell's Granny. So Hell's Granny's up in 4th. He's safe. Marty got over Rangers de Janeiro by a few points. So Marty's safe. I'm back to 13th after Pete Top Kevin Body beat me by about 40 points. So it looks like Pete's safe in 6th. So, mate, theoretically we can make it mathematically, but the Big Ted, 2 points. 2 points. Got beat by the threat. Mate, Big Ted, hang your head in shame. You're back to 10th. A couple of weeks ago, I think he was 10 and 4. He was cruising. I think he's probably lost 4 or 5 on the trot now, Big Ted. And the Bunning Snags beat Kane Anderson by about 90 points. And
it was funny.
Kane was a bit dirty here.
I was actually, you're probably talking to him as well. I think they had about 3 players different. And those players for Snags was like Cam Smith, Cherry Evans, and someone else. So he decided to set Latrell as captain from Teddy, and that just made it worse. So, poor Kando, Dr. Kando there suffered a bit, and he's now fighting for a spot just like you and I, mate, in that 8.
Mate, look, 90 points. As you can see, 90 points there difference between the two. Regardless of who he captained, whether it was Teddy or Latrell, by the end of it, he was never going to win either way after DCE and Cam Smith. But, look, they only had 3 players difference. And obviously the Bunny Snags is up in 46th. And I think Kano, he's down around sort of that 7,000 or 8,000. So just goes to show you how tight it is at the top, even with similar teams. Final week fixtures. Oh, no, hang on. Head-to-head ladder. Rangers, he's obviously got the minor premiership sewn up. Bunny Snags and Marty fighting out for second place, but those boys comfortably in the finals. Fixtures for this week. There we go. Gangsters, Gargars, and What's a Pod. Checkmate in the Tunnel Snakes.
Count the Snakes.
Right. So here we go. So Stevie Woods up against the fucking Cowboys.
That's
Both
a big
10 and
match.
8. Stevie up a long way on for and against. So Marky, he needs the win. You got Mana with Checkmate. He needs to beat Bogan. He's in 9th. Oh, Leanne, 8th spot. She's up against Brendan Bashers. You cheeky little thing, Leanne. You've got it sewn up, 8th spot.
Mate, the Bashers
So-
scored 1,000 on the weekend against me. They scored 1040. Don't write them off just yet.
Hang on, wait. So let's work this out, right? If Leanne wins, like she should, right? She finishes 11 and 8.
Yeah.
Now, we can only catch 7th, which is Stevie Woods, if he loses. But we can't because Mark with the fucking Cowboys would go to 11 and 8 as well.
Well,
need
it
a
just
draw.
depends on foreign games. You need some big wins.
We
You
need a
might need
draw.
big result.
Well, no, because
Who's
we're
sixth?
9 and 9.
How many points is 6th on?
Who's 6th? We're 6th. Pete,
Pete's hot.
He's got a
clear,
draw.
That's right.
Pete
He's clear.
Kevin
on
Bott, he's got a
21.
draw. We're
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
we
No,
need,
not
we're
yet.
dead set.
Not mathematically, but it's not ideal. But yeah, it's highly, extremely likely we're gone.
Oh, well, we need the Bashers to win, or we need Stevie Woods and fucking Cowboys to draw.
If you put a big win on Kando by about 7,000, you might be a chance.
I've got Kane. He's got nothing. Anderson, you got nothing. I've got you covered, son. Bunning Snags has got threat. Let's see if he can win or lose like Big Ted did. Who you draw? Oh, you got Rangers.
Hurrah, I finally get the Rangers. You know, if nothing else, I'll knock off top spot and show that I should have been there. Improve my record to be better than 50% and fucking head to
There you
head.
go. What do we got after that? Wrap it up. Who we got? Smith Chips. 1451. So well done to him. Well done, Smith Crisp Chips, whatever. That's it. I've got nothing. Anything else, mate?
No, I'm doing Fantasy Premier League as well. So once I can figure out Twitter again, I'll probably tweet that out. I've done it before. There's no one in the league. Pete Top, Kevin Bottom's the only one. 38-week season. You know, it'll go from.
That's the whole year, babe. Fuck,
It'll
too
go.
long.
It pretty much goes from now until well into next. Like I think a month into the start of the next league season. So it's a big
There's
season.
only
But
one guaranteed player that I'd have in my team that I know of.
who? He's not in
Josh,
England.
Josh King. Josh King plays for
King,
Bournemouth.
yeah. So
The Black Meat.
I'll chuck it out there. It starts on Saturday, so at the moment it's just me and Pete Top, but get amongst it. I
Right.
enjoy it. Apart from that,
Send me the details again. I'll get in. I need something to do in the off season.
humour yourself every other week. For those of us that don't play fantasy NFL,
What's the score? 40-12. I've got you. I've won for a week. You beauty.
kidding. It's only
40
half time. We'll be back.
All right. That's it. I'm done. All right, boys and girls. We'll catch you all next week. Round 22 for finals time. See you guys.
Catches.